Hello, my friends. How are you? Good morning. So there was quite a bit of pushback on last night's video, and I want to talk about it because I think that's important. That's how dialogue works. And I wanted to look back on that and sort of address some of the concerns that happened in last night's video. Don't worry, this ain't an apology video. I'm not here to beg for forgiveness. Because when I started this channel, one of the early videos that I did, I was talking about the difficulties of being a left-wing content creator and how sometimes I'm going to get pushback on the internet, and there's only a few ways that I can address that. So the three scenarios, if I remember right, that I came up with during that time was, if I get pushback, I can look at the information, realize that, yeah, I was saying something that wasn't right, and then come back, make a new video. Doesn't necessarily have to be an apology, but say, hey, I misunderstood something. That was option number one. Option number two was to do what, unfortunately, a lot of left-wing content creators do, and that's just take a hard right and go start making right-wing content and be like, the left canceled me, they were very mean to me, and now I'm going to make right-wing content, because right-wing content is much easier to make. You can say whatever the fuck you want, and nobody's going to question that. You can make up anything. That was option two. And then option three was to just stick to my guns, say, hey, I said what I meant to say, and that's just the way it is. And my friends, I have good news for you today. I'm taking option three. I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, and hey, I said what I meant to say yesterday. Let's talk about it, though. I think that's important. Let's have a dialogue. Let's figure out where the disconnect is, because it could be me, because I do these videos just off the top of my head, and I leave out a lot of points that I mean to make because I don't have a script or anything like that, and I forget things. So yesterday's video was basically talking about how I feel the Democrat Party, I am a registered Democrat, so it wasn't an attack. It was supposed to be helpful. It was supposed to be advice. But how they had left behind sort of rural America, the working class, and why I think that the communication of the right is much more effective in getting their attention, causing them to make poor decisions and vote for Donald Trump. As much as I hate that, that's what just happened. And the point of my video, of course, was to explain why that happens and why I understand it from a redneck, right? And I thought it was an important video. So I went on to talk about some of the other content creators on YouTube. Now, I want to be super clear. I like those guys. I really do. David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen, those are like my top two guys. I really like them a lot. Adam Mockler's just kind of there for me. It's just kind of whatever it is. Of course, I love me some Tennessee Brando. Anytime I can see a fellow redneck speaking out against the Republicans, that makes me happy. But I did kind of bust their balls a little bit, didn't I? When I was talking about like us doing some redneck shit and raising hell, I was just kind of goofing around on the internet. I mean, if they want to do that shit, we could totally go do that. I'm the guy, but we don't really have to go tear it up in a strip club in Albuquerque. It was just kind of a fun little thought project, if you will, that I was having. But I really do like those guys. The point I was trying to make with that is they have their place. And there's a reason they are as big as they are on this platform. They definitely have their place. The point I was trying to make was, to guys like me, they can be very unrelatable. And that's all. That's all the point was. So certainly they have their place here on these platforms. Their voice is very fucking important on these platforms. But I pointed out a thing that I thought was a huge misstep by the Midas Touch Network. And maybe I just didn't see all the information. Maybe I missed a picture that I should have seen. That is entirely possible. But what I saw was a bunch of clean-shaven, wearing suit, white guys standing in the White House together. And my only concern with that was, where was Tennessee Brando? I think that would have been so important for him to be there in that photo op with those guys. It bridges the gap in so many ways that a guy like me, that's going to fire off some chemicals in my brain that makes me go, yeah, that's fucking cool right there. And that was my biggest concern with that. Had I been a voice in that room when they were all planning a trip to go to DC and meet up with each other and get their photo op in, I would have voiced that concern and said, where's Brando in this? You guys need to reschedule that trip until Brando can show up. There's a reason that Tennessee Brando is a rising star, rapidly rising star in left-wing media and in the Midas Touch network. He is reaching the people that look like him, the people that talk like him. Not all of them. You're not going to reach all of them, but there is a reason that he is growing as rapidly as he was, and that was my concern with that. I think that would have been much more important. So I want to get into some of the things that I talked about in the video and some of the things that got pushed back on. Let me tell you guys something, a very interesting thing about me. You're going to learn a little something about me today, okay? Well, around 10,000 subscribers, I'll probably just do an intro video for you guys. I didn't expect this channel to grow this fast, and I'll kind of just tell you a little bit about my background, and that will be the whole point of the video and who I am. People have been asking my name. A lot of people know my name, but I'll tell you when we get to that video. And somebody said, just please don't let your name be Donald. It's not Donald, but if it was, that would be good. We could take Donald back. We can, you know, have a sensible Donald. How can I screw up words in that part of the statement there? But what I want to tell you guys about me right now is, look, I have a job, right? I have a house. It's a little single wide trailer. It's good enough for me, right? And if ever I grew on YouTube to a point where this was sustainable, where I don't have to be in this truck, and we'll talk about later in the video, I do have a plan for that, and I'll talk to you about that. But what I'm saying is, if ever that happened, I'd probably upgrade the house. But still, the little single wide trailer is good enough for me, all right? In the event that I piss off the entire internet and everybody stops watching my videos and I never make an income doing this, look, I'll just drive this little truck around the country like I do, and I'll return home to my little single wide trailer every chance that I get, and eventually I'll just die in this sleeper, and they'll find my body in here and they'll clean me out and they'll give this truck to someone new to drive, which was the plan all along. What I'm trying to tell you is I really have nothing to lose by doing this. It puts me in a very, very unique position. Here's where I kind of am a dick, all right? It puts me in a position where I don't have to kiss anyone's ass for a view or a subscriber. I can be very honest with you about what I think about things. I don't have to worry about what the pushback is. I don't have to worry about being canceled. And I don't have to worry about any of these things, which means I can speak my truth any way I see it. And the worst case scenario is I just drive my little truck around and go home to the single wide trailer. Look, the single wide trailer is good enough for me. Some of my kids have grown up in that house and moved on to start their adult lives. Some of my other kids are about grown up in that house. My old dog died in that house, and I'd feel bad about leaving that house because I feel like I was leaving her behind, and that she doesn't deserve that. What I'm saying is my lifestyle is good enough as it is, all right? So I never, ever have to bullshit you guys. I never, ever have to look for the popular thing to say in hopes that I get views and subscribers. That last video cost me a couple subscribers. Way of the road, bub. That's the way she goes. So you need to know that about me, okay? I don't have to bullshit you, and that's important. So some of the things I talked about in that video was how you can meet people sort of at their level. You know, I talked about communication and image and how those things actually matter, and that's where some of the pushback came from. You know, people were saying, so you're saying we have to dumb ourselves down to be able to talk to a Republican. Listen, I've always had a sort of a philosophy in my life. If you're constantly reaching for big words and trying to sound impressive at all times and just overall being one of those weird basement dwelling neckbeards that's saying weird words like vernacular, you're not as effective as of a communicator as you think you are. When you can say words that everybody understands, when nobody needs a dictionary or a thesaurus, or they don't need to pause you and say, hey, what do you mean by that? You are effectively communicating to an audience. That is a strong communicator there when you don't need those words. You just say what the fuck it is, right? So I was never suggesting we dumb it down so that people will understand us. What I was saying was maybe there's opportunities by people in the Democrat Party to act fucking normal. Just sit down and have a conversation. And if you think that doesn't matter, if you think those things don't matter, you are severely underestimating the power of relatability. right? I've been doing YouTube for a very long time, different channels. I'm sure you guys can tell I'm not new to this. I'm not new to talking to my camera. I'm not scared of the fucking camera, all right? And one of the biggest compliments you can receive from someone is, you know what, I don't know you, but I would sit down and have a beer with you. Yes, that is where you meet people where they're at. That is how you have discussions with people. Sit down and have a beer with them. A lot of things in human history have been accomplished by sitting down and just talking and just having a beer with someone. It's a very, very powerful tool. So I would never suggest that we dumb down our message, that we retreat from what our values are. But what I would suggest is that it's okay to have some normal, just run-of-the-mill people in the Democratic Party. It's a very, very powerful tool for communicating with everyday people. I want to use a couple examples of politicians that found a way to relate to the people that voted for them, and I don't think they're selling themselves out. I don't think they're being disingenuous by any means. One of those examples I want to use is Jasmine Crockett. She is very effective at what she does, all right? Would you say that she is communicating in a professional, sophisticated, uptight manner? Not at all. Not fucking at all. What she is doing is communicating like a black woman that is fed up with your bullshit. Now, does that line of communication necessarily land with me? No, it doesn't, but it doesn't have to. Does it land with the people that elected her to do a job? You're damn right it does, and that's what makes her effective at what she does. You see what I'm saying? Look, here's another example that you guys aren't going to fucking like at all. But this is the reality of the things that we have to deal with. We deal in reality on this channel, okay? I can't blow rainbows up your ass and tell you everything's going to be okay, because everything's not okay. We just lost a fucking election. It's time to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and put in the work, okay? We got to get up from this. But another example is Lauren Boebert. I don't like her either. Okay, but she's out here cosplaying as some Wild West cowboy. She is a redneck. She's about as white trash as it fucking comes, but she is leaning into that and getting people's attention. You know, she's out there doing photo ops with a pistol strapped to her thigh. And look, I'm not saying she's sexy. I'm not saying she's necessarily not either. I'm a redneck, and maybe she kind of does a little something for me. What I'm saying was that was sex appeal to the people that were going to vote for her, all right? And sometimes that is the selling point. We have to get out of our own damn way sometimes, guys. And we can't just always, like, I don't know how to explain it. We have to sometimes just be who we are. Because if you're listening to what I'm trying to tell you in that video, there was a whole thing about quite a few comments pushing back on people saying that I'm judging people based on how they talk and their appearance, how they're dressed. What I'm telling you, I'm trying to help. I promise I'm trying to help. I'm on your side. I know what the name of my channel is, but I'm not your enemy. I'm on your side. What I'm trying to tell you is that I'm not necessarily judging people for how they talk and how they dress. What I am telling you is that there is a portion of the American population that can swing votes, that can swing elections in their favor, that does not trust a smooth-talking man in a suit. Not even a little bit. Listen, you know what? I'll get to that in a minute. I got myself distracted like I do sometimes. That matters to people. And it's very important that we understand that maybe just because you don't see it that way, there are people out there that do see it that way. Look, I'm trying to bridge the gap here, okay? These are the people I came from. I'll tell you a little bit about my childhood also and how I got here, because I should have been MAGA. I should have been a Republican voter my entire life. Now, I was raised amongst these sort of rednecks that say things like, don't vote because your vote don't matter. Hell, maybe they make a point, because sometimes it feels like your vote don't matter. There's systems in place that make it so it kind of doesn't matter how you vote depending on the state you're in and things like that. My dad had gotten a back injury because he was a hard worker himself that put him out of work for quite a while, where he found himself with a lot of free time on his hands. You know, what do people from the country do when they got a whole lot of free time on their hands and they can't go to work? Well, back in that day, they start listening to Rush Limbaugh. And that's when my dad kind of went down that rabbit hole. And I love my dad. I got no problem with my dad. I understand how these things happen, right? And then we became Republicans. I don't think we were Republicans before that. We just really weren't anything. We were just people trying to live our lives. Ever since then, he has listened to, like so much of rural America does, all the bullshit, all the lies about how the Republicans are fucking demons. They're just devil people, you know? And me, I've had the fortunate thing of seeing the world, seeing the country, and seeing a whole lot of different things, and I understand how Democrat policies are beneficial to us. So I'll tell you more about my plan with the channel in a minute, if this ever turns into something that is sustainable, because I'm not going to sit on my ass. I'm not going to sit on my ass at home in a fancy studio looking like a professional. We got work to do. But a thing I wanted to finish all of that up with is, like I said earlier, relatability is power, right? Let me just jump into that, because that's actually part of what I wanted to say. So I've already had this conversation with my family. In the event that this channel gets to a part where it's sustainable, where I'm not tied to this fucking truck anymore, I'll probably take a week or two off. I'm tired, my friends. I've been out here for 10 fucking years driving this truck. I might take a week or two off. But then I have a mission, my friends. I have a goal, things I want to do. I'll hardly be home still, because what I'll be doing is traveling this country of ours to get the truth out to rural America. Anything I can do to get the information to them, because what you can do, like I was trying to address in the last video, which I'm not always very good at, I acknowledge that, was that rural America is absolutely a victim of the Republican Party, and they don't like to hear that either, okay? But when you can convince people that really kind of don't have time to go places, or are stuck, you know, tending to their farm or what have you, when you can convince them that they have an enemy far off in a distant land that's doing all kinds of crazy shit, you kind of got their attention, right? It's going to be my goal to go to where that's happening, where this imaginary enemy is at, and put this information in front of rural America and say, look, you're being lied to, and we need to help bridge that gap. And it's easy. Look, I understand the anger. We just lost an election we shouldn't have lost. I understand being pissed off, but it's easy to look at rural America and go, well, they're all a bunch of dumb fucks. Listen, there are some dumb fucks out there. I concede that. Absolutely, there are some dumb fucks out there, but there are people like me also. There are people like me also that may be a little bit scared that they want to vote the other way, that they have different political views, because their worldview can be very small. You know, it's just a few guys down at the local cafe sitting around drinking coffee talking about how awful the Democrats are. All you have to do is plant the seed in these communities in America, and it'll spread like wildfire. We all know that it's all bullshit, that it's all made up, and they're not being given the correct information. And that is my goal, in the event that I'm able to do that with this channel. But like I said, I'm also not gonna like kiss ass and bullshit you guys to make sure that I achieve that goal. If I don't, I don't. Fucking life goes on. I'm in my 40s. I'm 1 foot in the grave already, you know. I'm over the hill. What do I got to worry about? I don't fucking care. I bought a house years ago. My rate's locked in on that. I'm not concerned with if I can afford a house or not. I don't fucking care. So that will be my goal, though, because we have to work with the people that don't understand us, and we don't necessarily understand. Look, I'm willing to put in that work. I'll go on the campaign trail, right? Yeah, I don't care if somebody needs some help in rural America. I'll go out there and I'll sit down and have some conversations. I'm not going in there and I'm in a suit and tie and I'm gonna stand at a podium and talk at them. I'm gonna fucking sit down, have a beer, bust some balls, bullshit with them. You know, figure out what their concerns are. Then when I can figure out what their concerns are, we can have an actual conversation about what Democrat policies mean to them, because we know that Republican policies are harmful to them, but they are winning the information war, the propaganda war. They're winning that. So there has to be guys, that was the whole point of my last video. There has to be guys, all these uppity white guys have their place. They definitely do. But there has to be guys like me. There has to be guys like Tennessee Brando. I understand some people are upset with Texas Paul about something to do with his foreign policy. I don't know. I'm not a foreign policy guy. I tend to stay away from that unless I'm talking shit about people that repeat Russian talking points. But don't ask me about what's going on in Israel. I can't answer that, and I don't have an educated response to give you. And from an outsider on that looking in, it seems like there almost is no right answer, because you're going to piss off someone by saying something about it, and I just don't know. But there has to be guys like us, all right? So I understand a lot of your guys' frustration. Trust me, I do. We should have won that election. It's bullshit that we didn't, all right? And the Republican Party, the only reason they're relevant is because the playing field is tilted in their favor. Look, with the Electoral College is most of the time the only thing that keeps a Republican presidential candidate in that race. Now, we understand Donald Trump just won the popular vote, which was shocking, right? But on top of that, you've also got Senate, and I may be misunderstanding Senate. Look, this is one of those things where I'm open to being corrected, but every state gets 2 senators, regardless of population. The vast majority of our states are pretty empty. There's not a whole lot of people in them. You only got a few states, really, that are highly populated. Rural states tend to vote red, which, look, I think the people of Wyoming do deserve representation in Washington. Could you make the argument that they are overrepresented in Washington when you consider their population versus, say, California, that also gets 2 senators? That's what I'm saying. It is tilted in the favor of the Republicans. We have to be willing to roll up our sleeves, quit our fucking sniveling, because I had somebody on a fucking just throwing a tantrum in my comments about how what I said isn't fair. We don't have time to worry about what's fair. Life's not fair. You pick yourself up and you get back to work. Meet them where they're at. Have the conversations. Be respectful. I know I'm not always respectful. I know I light their asses up sometimes, but that's part of it. That's how us hillbillies talk to each other sometimes, right? We can't write rural America off as a bunch of dumb hicks that vote against themselves. Because if we do, then all we can do at that point is shut the fuck up and quit our whining and be prepared to keep losing elections. If you don't want to talk to them, if you don't want to have a civilized conversation over a beer, we're never ever going to get that part of the population to even hear us. I am not being a right-wing sympathizer. I am not doing anything like that. This is America. It takes everybody. And this has always been a problem of the Democrat Party, is we are very inclusionary. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like we the LGBTQ community, the Black Lives Matter, everything like that. We will take you in. We love you. But when it comes to somebody that's maybe less educated, got a big old chew in their mouth, and got a heavy accent, we show them the door. We don't want anything to do with them. And it makes sense that they keep voting against us, and in turn voting against their own interest. I am going to stand against Donald Trump. I'm going to stand against the Republicans, but at some point I'm also going to try to bridge that gap, and I hope you guys understand that the people I grew up around aren't all bad people. They made a really bad fucking decision. Somebody has to help them see that. Donald Trump's going to help them see that when he fucks them here in his next presidency, but will that be enough? Who knows? Guy like me in a ball cap, and look at this fucking hair popping out the back of my hat and shit like this, patchy beard. I've got an in, baby. I can have these conversations. So, hey, listen, thanks for letting me respond to that, and I will respond to criticisms like this in the future. If I'm right, I'm gonna, or if I feel like I'm right, I'm gonna stand up for myself and say, look, this is the way I see it. If I was way off base and fucking I said some bullshit and I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, then I gotta come back and address that too. But in closing, the time for bitching and whining and complaining is over. We cannot stand in front of Republican voters and perpetuate the stereotype that we're all a bunch of whining ass crybabies. Stand tall. Stick your chest out a little bit. Chin up. Be proud of what you do. All right? Let's go. We got work to do. Bye now.